Today, with Tracey's Keeping It Real, I have some really special guests with me today to tell us about some really dynamic things that I'm actually going to learn from. So, I'm joined here with Octavia Tay, is it?
Tav.
Tav
Hmm.
Treadway, a business strategist and founder of Your Carrying Something Great, known for turning big ideas into revenue generating strategies. And then we have my friend Tommy McNeal, a retired corporate executive turned entrepreneur and CEO of McNeal Management Inc., who also leads community focused ventures in business development and workforce opportunities. Together, they're bringing their experience to Strength and Strategies Lab to help entrepreneurs realign, refocus, and grow. So let's welcome Octavia and Tommy today. So thank you
Thank
so much.
you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, this is exciting. I've been thinking about this workshop since I heard about it. I'm just thinking how you're going to help a 91-year-old business get.
We we got you.
Well,
We got you.
I've been convinced today that I will definitely have to show up and make sure to utilize the knowledge that I gain.
Mm. Hmm.
So today we're talking about, what is this lab? Because a lot of times people come to different events or labs or conferences and they go and they're not sure what they're going to get and not sure how to really utilize it so that they can get the most out of it. So I want to know a little bit about the Strength and Strategy Lab. We know it's a 1 day lab
Hmm.
to help people to really understand what they're doing. So it's a 1 day workshop that is helps you to be immersive in your experiences with designing for entrepreneurship at any stage of your
Hmm.
business. So which is what you just said. So 91 years, any stage.
Yes.
So we'll talk a little bit about that and what that means.
Ab-
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we are very excited to be here. Thank you for having us. And the lab it's really been birthed out of our own experience as entrepreneurs. Tommy and I have been, as we've connected as business owners, just started having conversations about networking and building and the challenges that you experience as an entrepreneur. And we both realized that this was something that we were passionate about. And so, in deciding to move forward, wanted to create a space where entrepreneurs could be safe and vulnerable to talk about where they are in their businesses, where they are as leaders, and then help them move forward from there. Because let's be honest, entrepreneurship can be a little crazy. It can be all consuming and it can be extremely overwhelming. And creating space for entrepreneurs to come in and be able to not only just talk about but feel safe to talk about it. You know, you go to experiences like this and you get the very high level questions
Mm-hmm.
around, like, business and things. And but we want to create a space where people actually come in and start to talk about the conversations that they keep in the background to themselves that are keeping them up at night. And that's what the Strength and Strategy Lab is going to do.
And that's great. And the really cool thing about it is you guys both gone through this and or maybe some is still going through this because if you're still in business, you're still going to be going through different things no matter what. So Tommy, now that Octavia told me that you guys decided to bring your strengths together.
Hmm.
So it's like a combined Clifton strength self-awareness with practical strength tool like the AGPA. Which what does that mean first? What's the AGPA represent?
So the AGPG
Oh, it's
is
PG. I'm sorry.
no, no worries. The AGPG is something great's take on a SWOT analysis.
Okay.
We are very intentional at something great about language. Again, we talk about how challenging entrepreneurship is, right? It's a lot. So we don't want to talk to people about weaknesses and threats.
No.
We want to come in and talk to them about what it stands for, their accomplishments, and then talk about some growing pains,
Mhm.
pain points,
Okay.
and then growth opportunities.
Okay. So that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, a much more relatable way to have a conversation about where you are as a business instead of setting it up from weaknesses and threats.
Okay. Which and sometimes you don't see either one.
Correct.
You just need to know where your opportunities are. You don't think that because you don't make the best cookies that's a
Uh
a
huh.
weakness. You might
Hmm.
actually think it's a strength,
Correct.
and you got to realize which one it actually is. So with that, Tommy. So then when you're talking about the dream planning to help entrepreneurs move from ideas to action,
Hmm.
how do you see that combination of the two of you with the strength and the strategy happening?
Yeah, and thanks again for having us. I surely appreciate being here. I'm a super fan of the Spokesman-Recorder, and as a result, I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity because how much you give back to the community, that we share the messaging around this particular program with your audience. So we're grateful for that. But Tav and I come back probably about 40 years combined of corporate experience, and I really highlight that because it's really important that Tav was doing things on an international scale. I was doing things on a very corporate, high level capacity and bringing the understanding and the acumen around the business from those respective lenses awards us the opportunity and the credibility to being able to come back into the community, not only as business owners, but to find methods and ways and strategies that have went really well in a very high level environment and bring them to the community of emerging business. So the dream planning is more or less deep diving into the aspect of one's infrastructure, their business as a whole, and what is it built on? What foundation is it serving on? What is their why behind? Why are they doing what they're doing? And do they have the passion to continue to move it forward? Is this something that's sustainable in their ability to being able to execute on the plan? And do they have the proper resources in order to do it? And so ultimately, at the end of the day, when we're working through some of these workshops, in a very transparent way, it just opens up the door to be able to have really intelligent conversations that they'll be able to walk away with something that will allow them to dream big.
Now I know that you talk about, that this workshop is not like your typical workshop, that you're actually able to walk away with something that allows you to have a tangible outcome. But my question is, how do you take the the, the newspaper publisher versus the cook from the kitchen and give both of us something to walk away with? And you're talking about companies that are already established,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily starting new. So you're not the A is and the B and the C might not be where we're at anymore. We're in the D's and on. So how do you talk to me and that other person and make it make sense? How do you send me out the door with something?
So, what I appreciate about what I've been able to learn through my career, which has been focused on operations for the most part, um, we are all dreaming, and that's amazing. We are all walking in purpose, and that's also amazing. And we probably think we're more unique than we actually are when it comes to, so if I'm with a business owner, I am, really like, this is great what you're doing, right? From an operational perspective, though, we are all trying to get our businesses from A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really can be a generic approach to what you're doing. So to answer directly your question, no matter where you are in business, you have accomplishments, you have growing pains, you have pain points, and you have growth opportunities. And so you'll be able to look at that from where you are in business and then be able to build from that perspective. And what's great about having the different perspectives in the room is that peer to peer connection where, I will get to learn from someone who may be a little further along than me. So I don't have some of maybe the trip ups that they had, in their business. But the frameworks that we've created as something great really are generic enough that we can go into any business and we can help them diagnose what's happening in their business in order so that they can move forward no matter how long they've been in business or how chaotic they might feel things are.
Oh.
Yeah. And if I could add to that, our overall goal is to do a couple different things as it relates to the participants that's coming in. In advance of you registering, as you register, you're going to get a questionnaire that's going to provide us insight into your business. So it's more or less a survey to ensure that you are amongst like type minded and or business types when you're there.
Okay.
So in the circular table that you will be hosting at, you will have the ability to be around some individuals or business owners that has either some wraparound services and or are directly tied into what you're doing. Secondarily, we're going to have facilitators, table hosts that's going to be there, that's going to provide support and engaging conversations around things that are maybe pertinent to the discussion, breakout sessions that will be happening, but it will help you and those that will be at the table to procure great ideas and allow yourself to start having discussions around some of the operational proficiencies that might be needed in order for you to move forward in your business.
Oh, I like it. Okay. So if we want to talk about what is this strength and strategy lab for, And we got entrepreneurs that we know that if they feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure how to take their business to the next level, what would that person learn if they feel stuck? Just give us one idea that might be kind of a natural one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for somebody that feels stuck, I think, I would reiterate to what Tab said earlier about starting off with just that sense of self-awareness, right? The reason that we have the leadership development piece in the morning is because we want to make sure that people are feeling comfortable enough to understand what they are facing in order for us to have an intelligent conversation about the strength and the strategy. If they are unprepared and unwillingness to allow for themselves to be open and vulnerable and humble about where they position themselves at right now, they're going to struggle because the way that they walked in is the way that they're going to leave out. But if they open themselves up through being fully transparent with themselves, not necessarily with the masses, with themselves on what they came there to obtain, then I think that that will be the starting point of them feeling unstuck.
And I think what is great about what Tommy and I bring to the space as well to add to that is we are both pretty open about sharing our experiences. So we are going to set the stage for them to have this conversation. I will talk to you about the time when I thought I was going to get the line of credit and realized that my credit score had dropped way too low and the bank was looking at me like, not going to happen, you crazy. And you already banked on these kinds of things to happen for your business. So we'll have those conversations to set the tone and the stage for vulnerability so other people feel comfortable because the experience we're trying to create when you go to other workshops, and it's not to knock what anybody else is doing, but it's very hard to do what we're trying to do actually to create a space of vulnerability for this many people in in different stages of their businesses, in different stages of life. And so the best way to do that is to come to the table with that vulnerability so people start to feel safe. And that strength portion really does open the door because it sets people up from the perspective. So my top strength is responsibility. But growing up, I was called bossy. I was called nosy. I was, all of these things that now as an entrepreneur, I actually use in my business because I have language for it in the way of I am good handling a great amount of responsibility. So I can position it differently. I have had people go through this process and literally start crying because of the awareness that it created and how they have been treated because of their strengths and people not having language to help move them forward in that way. So when you understand like, oh, I'm actually good at responsibility, I'm not just bossy and nosy, and I mean maybe still a little bit, but then you can show up differently for yourself and for your business.
And just one example that I like to kind of like throw out there because I feel you on that, Tab. I'm like I am been known to be more of a like hands-on, stand over you type of a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's my nature or if that's happened because of past experience of people needing that. So
Mm-hmm.
so what would you direct me to how would I work on that one?
Well, I think taking the strength finder, even as we've been talking, we probably have a lot of strengths in common, you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think taking the strength finder, I'll tell you what it did for me. It actually calmed me down.
Mm-hmm.
When I thought I just had to show up for everybody, and when I thought I was bossy, and when I thought I was nosy, it positioned me to show up that way because that's how I was describing myself and how other people were describing me. But when I was able to position it from a place of responsibility, first of all, I realized why I was going through half the stuff I was going through because I was taking too much responsibility for things that I shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And then it allowed me to sit back and actually work on boundaries. Just because I can does not mean I should. And so, how do I set myself up to not do everything that I could do? Because I have a high capacity too. So I can get into a bunch of stuff, but is that actually going to set me up for success? And then also it helps me show up for other people better. My brothers say all the time when we talk about my business, they're like, so people pay you to do what we ask you to constantly stop doing for us all the time. Yes, but that's because I've been able to position it as a strength and then learn how to build around it and support people in such a holistic way with my responsibility that people don't feel threatened by it.
Which is the strategy portion of it,
And okay, and
right?
that's smart, and that's one of your strength is the strategy portion. both of you, but Tommy, your strength
Mm-hmm.
is more
Mhm.
in that. So when you have a room full of people, and I'm very happy to hear that you kind of lead with your own strengths or your maybe your weaknesses is what you don't want to refer to it as, but your challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So to make people comfortable so
Mhm.
that you're able to take that and make that a strategy instead of a weakness. How would you do that, Tommy? With my scenario, and maybe as one example.
Yeah, and I think this is a lot, just our overall experience, right? I think, continues to lead us in a high credible and quality way, right? Those levels of vulnerability, even though they're discomforting to being able to share, that's the objective of this program is to get out of just the networking and where you going in and rubbing shoulders, you put a nice suit, a nice dress on, and you out there reconnecting with folks and just assuming that that's going to be enough to drive your business and not necessarily telling people some of the things that has caused you some struggle and some pain, some things that you've had to be more agile and nimble. And to really, sometimes you have to take a step back in order to take two steps forward. And having that conversation is really key in this discussion. I think we are open to that. But as it relates to your situation, our corporate experience, at least mine as a senior executive, right, for one of the Fortune 50 companies, where I've oversaw hundreds, if not thousands, of both internal employees and customers. And it's about the art of delegation and the responsibility of inspecting what you expect, right? And not assuming that, your way is the only way because people bring forth great ideas. And unless you allow them the opportunity to be innovative and really help to cultivate a culture that reflects the people that are working for you. Because when you hire these people, and I say this to a lot of the growing business, like it starts off from the recruiting process. The people that you bring in, there has to be a level of trust within those relationships. And if you don't trust them enough to do the job, then you shouldn't have hired them in the first place. But if you trust them, then you have to be able to support and really induce the creativity that it will require for you to be able to take your foot off the gas so that your focus can be on larger, more big picture, enterprise wide thinking.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about Tracey's keeping it real. Okay, here's a
Yeah.
point in case. So we as maybe some small businesses don't really have the revenue to hire who we think we can trust. So we're trying to grow people in a lot of cases. And I've seen that. I've seen that in a lot of businesses that have been going. And when you go into a restaurant and they got their kids there, and it's not they don't trust their kids, but they can't trust them to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between trusting somebody and trusting them to do the job. So when you bring them on and you trust them as a person, a friend, you bring a friend on, you trust your friend, but can they do the job? So how do you take it from the trust that you're trying to grow them? And I think that's where you might find yourself with the foot on the gas versus the foot off the gas. So is this conversation going to help that when we come to the lab? Are we going to learn how to maybe do better at choosing who we hire? I mean, what are we going to learn in that area?
Yeah, if I can just jump in. So, McNeal Management Incorporated is a holding company, and one of, I like to say, my favorite business consultant clients is Flame Mobile Kitchen, which is my business.
Also,
Hey,
so you're your own
I'm
boss, essentially.
I really am, but I think the art form around what I do for Flame, because I have a group of business professionals who are entrepreneurs in their own right. And it's really important. The reason I bring this up, because sometimes building great collaborations and partnerships sometimes is a sacrifice of potential revenue that you might have coming in. I just told one of the chefs recently, and we had our one-on-one discussion, and I said to this particular catering operation that sometimes you got to focus on doing a little bartering, which means that, if there is individuals that are skilled in areas that you are not, maybe there is a resource that you can provide, that they can provide, that would serve the purpose for both businesses without necessarily having to exchange monetary value, but you all have the ability to being able to work together to increase the overall income and opportunity to earn additional revenue, as an example. And so in doing that, more collaboration and more partnerships bring better business opportunities for a lot of these businesses who are pretty much holding a lot to their chest and wanting to try to prevent others from capitalizing off of it. But sometimes strength is in numbers. And in our community right now, with what's going on with the new administration that's out right now, there's a lot of businesses, specifically business of color, specifically Black businesses, that are suffering and are dying, which is one of the reasons that we're doing the Strength and Strategy Lab, is for us to be able to work together and unite on the front that would allow all businesses to grow.
Yeah.
And I've just had this conversation because it's like, even when right now, for when you're looking at there's some grant opportunity out there, but they are definitely looking for collaboration. The question of the day always comes back to who's the head person in charge. Is it me or is it you? And so how do you make it equal? Because sometimes all things are not equal, right? I've been in business for 91 years. You might have been in this business for 5 years. So some of that, the legacy in itself brings a lot of credibility. So how do I then make that relationship happen if if we got two different businesses and one feels it's bringing a lot more to the party than the other?
I think Tommy and I are such a great example of that, of two leaders coming together. We actually had someone who we were having a conversation with about the lab, and the two of us have been building side by side. Not once, I think, have we asked the question, who's in charge? Not once, until this person came and said, well, who makes the decision? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Who's making, are you making them? Am I making, we did, because we brought such a level of self-awareness and leadership to the state. This comes from the 40 years of experience that we bring to the table. And so it was so easy for us to come together, having made all the mistakes, learned all the lessons, right? That we could come together and bring our minds together. I think a big piece of this, though, is um, people sometimes, maybe you're better at partnership than you're better at developing. So when you think about, how do I know who to hire or how to hire, maybe you shouldn't be hiring at all.
Well, I figured that one out for myself
Well,
personally.
well, right there you go. Because everybody, but the thing is, then we put a stigma on it. How you running a business and you can't hire, you
Yeah.
can't do, right? That's not my strength.
Mm-mm.
My strength is actually partnership. I have experienced the greatest growth in my business this year based on partnership, because I realized that I'm good at building communally. It's something I'm really good at. So I have 3 business partners right now that I'm working with that have created such a growth in my business, and created awareness for what I do, that I could struggle trying to figure out, how am I going to hire all these people, or I could just partner with people who are like-minded. But let's be real, that takes a very high level of emotional intelligence to be able to bring two different ideas together, two different people together, and then help and then navigate through. So I will say Tommy and I are a good example, but I'll also say we're probably unique, in that,
Very.
yeah, in that we
Yeah.
were able to come together and do this work so quickly. We haven't even been working together that long. So
And it works too, I think, because right now what we're talking about is the lab. When you're not running his kitchen,
correct.
and he's not running your organization,
Correct.
so that's still different. But you're figuring out how to collaborate on one project together.
Correct.
So let's not get this twisted thinking that it's about the companies, because then
Mhm.
that's a different scenario.
Correct.
But even trying to work, because I'm struggling right now, and I won't get into that because I have to wait until next week to talk about it.
Okay.
Catch you on the next Tracy's Keeping It Real.
Yes. There you go.
Shameless plug.
After we've already gone through the process. But it is about, is this right? Sometimes, yeah, is this, we're doing a relationship, but I wouldn't do it that way. But I'm more of a just sit back and watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because trying to bring everything to the forefront, which is what I am known for,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes doesn't make people happy. So I'm trying to learn how to just sit back and watch, but my sit back and watch doesn't always work, because then it makes me decide I ain't messing with you no more, versus trying to figure out how I don't do the sit back and watch it the next time. So is that something we're going to learn there as well? Because some people may be that way. They might be like, oh, you're making me mad, but right now I'm going to say it, and I'm just not going to partner with you. And that could close doors that you don't want closed.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll tell you what my wife told me. 27 years of relationship, 24 of marriage, and she say, pick and choose your battle, because you ain't gonna win them all.
Uh-huh.
So you need to really identify what it is that what's worth fighting for. And in corporate, when I sat at the executive table and had an opportunity to present my business case on whatever the topic was, it was really important for me to be really decisive about what it is that I wanted to focus on and what it is that I really wanted that win to be in. And I put all of my chips in the spaces that I felt like was going to have the biggest impact. And I think the example that Tav and I, or at least she was explaining in a relationship that we have, is one of which we come to the table with an openness to collaborate. So it's tell me what you think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, may I suggest that, right? Or let's put some additional thought in this and not reach this conclusion right now. Let's think about it overnight and then we'll come back to it. And that sense of pairing is unique in a way, but it's not abnormal, right? And so people just haven't been in the habit of doing it. And as a result of them not being in the habit of doing it, the pain and suffering that they might be enduring may be self-inflicted. And so what I would highly encourage as a part of this lab is to understand that collaboration is key. Yeah. You only can get to the top with individuals. Everybody is not meant to go, but there still need to be a ship that's going to take you over the top. And so who are you going to build that ship around is what's really important.
I agree. And that's huge right there.
Yes.
Who you select to join hands with. So many entrepreneurs know what they want, but they can't get it down on paper or communicate it into their team what they're trying to accomplish. How do they do that?
So, a few ways. I think the really important thing about building strategy in that way is surrounding yourself with other entrepreneurs. There is a difference between isolation and solitude. What we do as entrepreneurs is we go into isolation. And I have to figure it all out by myself, but you can get into a place of solitude with other people. And that's what this lab is meant to do. It's meant to drown out the noise. That's what the solitude is about. Drown out the noise so that you can build and grow in a way, because isolation it has all different kinds of repercussions, right? From being by yourself and trying to build by yourself and trying to strive by yourself. There's so many repercussions from that. This is about being in a place of solitude where the noise is drowned out so that you can build and grow your organization with people who understand exactly what it is that you're going through. And then a product of that environment is aha moments, right? You get in there and then I personally sometimes go to workshops just because I will be in a place where I'm not paying attention, which is not good. I shouldn't say that out loud, but I do sometimes. I register for things and I take my notebook and I sit there and I'm like, man, I never get to think about this when I'm sitting at my desk or when I'm doing 100 things, because it allows you to think on a level that we don't get to think as entrepreneurs. And so this is going to create space to bring out those ideas, because as a coach, most of it is inside you. I don't believe that people need to hire me to tell them what to do. I think people hire me because I give them a space to process and brain dump what's happening in their brains, and then I can help them structure it better. But I'm not telling them, I'm not, giving them purpose. I'm helping them walk in purpose more effectively.
Just said what the lab provides. So it does also provide some clarity, community, like you said, and also the tool to be able to concentrate. Now, I know going to certain things and your mind isn't on it. I don't know how you would then turn turning what's in your head into a roadmap you can actually follow when I'm not following you.
Correct.
If I got too much in my head, how are you making sure that I'm following you in this lab?
Yes. So we have been very intentional about creating resources, worksheets, frameworks that people are going to be able to follow and understand very clearly as they exit the space. It won't feel like rocket science.
Okay.
We have worksheets. We're going to be helping them work through things, helping them create the plan so that when they leave, not only is it their plan because they have to do the work, but they'll understand the worksheet that they put in front of them, the language that we've been using during the lab, and they can take that with them to continue to build in their business spaces.
Yeah, that intentionality is key.
It is definitely. So what happens if I come to the lab based upon what the information you send me home with to start building this new foundation that I've learned how to utilize my strengths better, but I'm still stuck.
Yeah. So, we are happy to have partnered with quite a bit of organizations, CDFIs, and those that are like NDC, which is the Neighborhood Development Center, and Neon, obviously, North Minneapolis, in support of businesses currently, but we have others who's also been in support of. And so they have resources and wraparound services, along with our relationships with other businesses, growing businesses that specialize in areas that is beneficial to a lot of the businesses that will come. So we will have people there that will help host, facilitate, or serve as a vendor that will be there to help guide them on what next steps may look like if they are in need of resources. And then, of course, Tab and I, this is what we do. We're business consultants. So our job is to really help. And I've always said, in most of the work that I do, it's not to speed you up, it's to slow you down. So that you have the ability to process what it is that you need to do. And then we want to build the infrastructure from there. So sometimes you got to tear down in order to rebuild. And this will be a moment to do that.
And that makes sense as to this next question when we talk about it's not a strategy as much as it's about strengthening the entrepreneur. So as a leader that they can grow their business and when you say you're going to help them to not speed up but slow down so they can kind of see what they're doing. If when we talk about tools, what type of tools like that would one? I could tell you about a million that I could use. One is finances, but when you look at the seriousness of, because people are like, you need to have newer computers in your office in order to do better. Is there resources for people that need that, or are there that your partners might provide them with? Or because I know one of the things that I've gotten a lot of here is a lot of counseling, and I know this is what you might hear in your daily work. But so it's telling me what to do, but who gonna help me do it?
Yep.
So how does that happen?
So Tav, can I just jump in, and then because Tav is obviously her operational soundness is good, but I think what's really important to just share is first understanding what it is that you need, right? I think first and foremost, we walk into these situations not having a very clear choice of decisioning around what do I need? Do I need what kind of technical support? What kind of client management system, etc., that I need? First and foremost, being really clear with yourself on what is going to create that operational soundness. But I think what's really important before Tab jump in is understanding that when you going after some of the resources that you asked about in the last question, and who are those individuals or what resources to use, you have to be prepared for that conversation. Because more times than other, a lot of our growing and emerging businesses get discouraged when they're walking into some of these institutions asking for help, and they're not prepared for what is needed, or they're going into these networking events and saying, I'm just going to build a relationship with Tracey because I know. But when Tracey asks you one question that stumps you because you wasn't prepared, it then leads into some of the things that maybe Tav can speak to.
And one, if you're not prepared, you're absolutely right, Tommy, and that has happened to
Right.
me. Walked in, thought that's what it was because we didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect to get there, and if we're not prepared, then we feel kind of dumb, or we feel like, oh, gee, I don't want to talk no more because I don't want nobody else to say anything to me. Now, don't forget what you were going to say, Tab, but I want us to continue, just wrap that
Please.
sentence up and say, so how do we come prepared? What should we be thinking about when we come to the workshop so we are prepared when we get there?
So I think what's important about what we're trying to do with the Strength and Strategy Lab, it's not a one and done. We want this to be a part of community. We want this to be a part of the Twin Cities community. We have plans to take this statewide. After we launch this first one, we're trying to go into other areas in the state, and then also eventually take it national, because it has to be a secular process. You have to be able to come back to it and say, how did I get here? How is this working? And then do that again, and then do that again. Being an entrepreneur is about getting comfortable with that circular process, of, okay, I did this. Now, how do I go back and learn from that and then add on to that if needed, or just build on what's been working for us, right? The lab is going to be here, so that people can continue to come back. And then it's about creating ecosystem. So not just, oh, you came to the lab, and even if you keep coming back to us, we are business consultants and coaches, and we don't have the wraparound services. So we're trying to create a space where people can connect to the work that we're doing, not only from a strategy and strength perspective, but so they can get the resources that they need to continue to grow their businesses. So really, really creating space where, we're not going to answer every question in this first lab.
No, no.
Yeah.
We're just not going to.
I
Yeah.
think that's what I kept leaning to, because
Yes.
I kept trying to get back to, okay, what's next? What's next? So
Yes.
And then if I may just continue to add, and unless you have something more you want to contribute to that, when Tab and I first started talking about this, and we talked about the investment in one's business, if you really are dedicated to your business, you have to invest in yourself, right? You have to invest in your organization. May it be through equipment that you might use, services that you might render, but you also have to develop and invest in your own development, right? Because more times than other, when you're working for an organization, they have training programs. In entrepreneurship, there isn't any that truly exists. And so for the minimum cost that one will pay to be a part of this program, although you won't get all the answers, you'll get all the support. And it'll be an investment worth having, because when you sit there and walk into these conversations with institutions that are looking to aid you, if you're not prepared for the things that you need in order to have those conversations, you're wasting your time going to socialize in these networking events that ultimately is going to run you into a dead end. You're exhausting funds, being $20 here, $50 there. You're at somebody's table, but you don't know what to do with it. So some of the resources that are needed is, when you go into one of these networking events, do you have a checklist of who you're going to target? I know that I do. And just so that anybody that's watching this, I already know that I'm going to talk to you before I walk into the building. I already know who I need to talk to and why, and what I'm going to ask for and or ask about. But I think equally as important is, anybody that I talk to, I always ask them, what can I do for you? Because there is something reciprocal about what a relationship looks like, and it's not transactional. So what do you say of how to be prepared, and what do they need to prepare for, and what tools they need? First and foremost, they need to be self-aware of what they need first, and then move from there.
I like it.
I think I would add to that too. Half the time we don't even know what we need.
Mm-mm.
We are so deep in business that, what I always say is, a systems problem can look like a people problem. A people problem can look like a systems problem. You think if we get this new system or this new app or whatever, that it's going to solve the issue. I would encourage people to come to the lab open to the idea that maybe they don't exactly know what they need. We couch it in, is your challenge technical? Is your challenge adaptive, or is it a leadership challenge? Most of the time with entrepreneurs, it's leadership, because we trying to do all the things, we trying to run, that's most of the time. I think I have been graced to help people understand that the problem is you without saying the problem is you. So I appreciate being able to help people see that without feel a feeling of attack. But I would say most of the time people don't know what the issue is. So you think it's a computer that you need, or you think it's a resource, when actually, and what we focus on really as something great is not encouraging people to go buy more resources, or to go buy a new computer, or to go, don't even start there. The frameworks that we create, you don't need a computer for them to build your business. You don't need, because it ain't in my budget.
Yeah,
So
right.
it probably ain't in yours
Right,
either.
right.
Right. So let's not focus on throwing money at the problem, and let's really focus on bringing your genius to the table. You came here because you were innovative and creative and driven, and most of the time those skill sets get put on the back burner when you actually start having to have 7 orders of cookies ready, for that, order or whatever. And so this is bringing back innovation, it's bringing back that creativity and that drive to really dive into what you're doing so that you can grow your business more effectively.
Nice. Okay. Well, we know every participant will leave with something. So, what will they leave with? Is it going to be a plan more than, or are they just leaving with inspiration?
We have a lot of things on deck. I believe. Most importantly, they will leave with a plan. They will leave with a plan that they can execute themselves, that they can articulate to their teams or whoever they're going back to. They will have that plan, but they will also leave with community. They won't leave feeling like they have to do things on their own anymore. They will leave with wraparound services. We're going to have wraparound services in the room so they can connect to different things that they might actually need for their business after they go through the lab and understand what that looks like. And I would say, most importantly, confidence. And I know that probably sounds like, oh, we're going to leave with confidence, right? But I have found personally, doing the strength finder, giving myself an opportunity to practice what I preach from a strategic planning perspective, I always feel better going into the next season of my business. So you're going to leave with a level of confidence that we don't always get. And I think what that confidence leads into is really helping people understand where they are from the perspective of, are you working on your business or are you working in your business,
Yeah.
and how to separate the two so that you can be more effective moving forward.
Yeah, there'll be some inspiration in it just because what we've identified is our ability to fill in the gap. Like this is a gap filler. Like when you think about some of the organizations that are helping people write their business plan and or businesses that are out here just trying to be a part of certain events that are giving them exposure. Uh, Outside of what we're doing directly, right? And this is really a shout out to Tav and I, and what we're trying to put together is a way of being able to fill a gap and being able to get to the root of some of the conversation that doesn't exist right now. As you said, Tracey, just even in your own thought about the process, like you, there is a gap that needs to be filled. It doesn't mean that you're not great at what you do because there are some imperfections, but we all are growing. And when we're growing at different stages, I've learned that there's going to be different struggles, and you're going to have that at every stage. So it's interesting that you put your mind into that. It's never going to be easy. It's never going to be easy at a starting point, and I don't care if you're running a multi-million-dollar business. It's never going to be easy. And so, fixing your mind to understand what are some of the key factors that you need is going to help you continue to grow your business. Is what we're doing, is filling in that gap.
Nice. And so I think from what I've been hearing just this afternoon is kind of a lot of things, but I think coming as a business owner, I think we need to come with our minds open, ready to take in information. We have to be humble and leave our pride on the other side of that door. Because if you're coming into this lab, you got to be coming in because you're looking for help.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for someone that can help guide you to the next step. If you know it all, then don't bother coming to the lab because your already mind is already closed. So that, am I right? Am I on the right track here with my thinking?
100%.
Because I think a lot of us have started our own business because out of it either being given to us or just thinking we got the best cookies, and so all of a sudden we become that we got a bakery.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know first thing about turning the oven on, but we think because our family loves our cookies, we got to be the best cookie maker in the world, not realizing the business side of it. So I think we want to make sure and encourage people when you come prepared to learn, but also bring your A game in terms of what your strengths, what you'd like to see your strength be. So maybe not even have to start off with your weakness, but what would you like to see your business be, so that at least you have that thought in mind when you approach the two of you, because you don't want to come and leave empty-handed, and you know that if they come and their minds are not there, they're going to leave empty-handed. Yes. So we want to make sure. So I also realize that we're talking about the tickets are limited. So is there a small amount of people, or we know that there's going to be a lot of people showing up? And I know that we talked about a small amount. at one point just because you're trying to give them opportunity. So what's that number look like?
Yeah, we're trying to keep it intimate, right? I mean, this is we're out the gate. We want to make sure that we get a chance to really survey the experience and keep it manageable, but at the same time, keep it intimate enough where there could be a high level of engagement with the participants that are there. And so, yeah, can we have done something a lot larger? Yeah, we have. And shout out goes to Nancy Croshaw, who obviously has the Black Business headquarters, enterprise headquarters downtown, for allowing us to utilize her space.
And it's beautiful.
And it is beautiful. And it's the perfect setup for what we're looking to do and keeping this all as a part of community. And so we want to keep it fairly intimate, right? And so we're looking between 50 to 75 folks at a max. But we really see a high level. We already have almost half the tables full already, just due to a lot of the contributions from our sponsors as well as the community who's been engaged. But yeah, keep your ego to the side. Understand that everybody is in the journey. We're in this together, and Tabinar's goal is to support our business community and support the families that they support.
I love it. I mean, I'm involved in some women's groups today, and I often thought it would be nice if our people had some of these type of networking opportunities, because it's not always just about the business perspective that we may not understand, but sometimes it's culture, because we know a lot of us come from the same culture. We don't all come from business minded families.
Correct.
So that's a part of our culture, is this like, we know that we make the best greens in town. So now we open up a restaurant and we know how to barbecue and we know how to cook greens, because that's how we were raised. But that culture is not there to teach us how to be a good business person. So we're excited about coming and getting all these tools, but I really like that whole wraparound piece. But I also know that in any business, you're going to always, if you're trying to grow, you're going to evolve, and you're going to need to continue to think of, and especially with the economy, the new administration, and also this is the way you might be trying to run your business with the electronics today. It moves fast in whatever you're doing, you know? It might be Facebook that you once used to promote your business. Now maybe it's something else. So you never know. So I'm excited. I want to make sure that people realize when you come that you're coming to learn and to be educated on things you might not know, or reminded of the things that you do.
Yes.
So, do you got any closing remarks that you want to share with the Tracey's Keeping It Real audience?
I would say, in the way of coming into the space and being vulnerable, I want to be fair to entrepreneurs. It takes a certain level of pride and ego just to do this thing in the first place. So when we tell people to come in the room and leave your pride at home like that, I want to be fair. We understand that's what got you this far. We don't want you to lay that aside as much as we want you to learn how to use that to your advantage. Because pride and ego of itself, just moving a business forward, is not a strategy, and it will lead to burnout. So we understand this is how you got here. We all bring in enough of that to the table to make this happen. And at the same time, there are ways to take those natural skill sets that you have and really use them to build a business that makes you happy, gives you peace, and is not driving you crazy.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
So tell me, who, if somebody says, should I go? Who should go? Who should come?
Yeah. Well, in light of keeping it real, I would just say keep it real with yourself. Giving yourself grace and mercy in terms of where you are currently sitting in the business space that you're in. I think it's really important for you to make sure that you keep it real with yourself. But we are looking for organizations that are emerging and growing with a growing mindset. We're going from grind to business growth. I mean, it's not as cliche as it may sound. This is not a hustle. This is something that either if you are a corporate transitioner that's looking for entrepreneur and you're kind of tethered, in between working a job and being an entrepreneur, if you got a home-based business that you're ready to get out the home and you're ready to get into retail or broaden your base out in the community, if you're somebody that has a trade and or a skill set and is really looking to monetize that in a way, now those are the type of individuals that we're looking to come in because they're ready for whatever the next level will bring.
Nice. And so this workshop is pretty soon. It's coming up pretty quick. So when is the date on that and the time?
Yes, so meet us at Black Business Enterprises, September 18th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I know some of us are still working. Take the day off. We promise you it will be worth it for you to come in and lay your hat down just for a few hours so that we can help you build. September 18th from 8 to 4. Go to our website and register somethinggreathq.com/the lab. You'll find details on what we're going to be doing for the day. And we hope that it inspires you to come ready to learn and grow.
We'll have food and special guests. So make sure you show up to see what we got for you.
Wow, and food, that ought to get us all in the door. So that's wonderful. Well, I have enjoyed, I'm inspired. Look forward to having me in the room. I look forward to coming to this first one and checking it out because I know that I could. Now, I got to ask you that because this is part of my personality.
Okay, okay.
So when we come in with this hard personality, that it's us, it's just us. So it's hard to teach me how to be Tracey. Are you gonna be able to work with me on that too?
I got you. I got you. I feel like we two flames. We very yeah, two spirit flames. We probably approach things in life very similarly. And so I think that we will be able to connect with you and help you to learn some new things.
Nice. I look forward to it. So I think that people that we all need to grow. We're all happy with the things we're doing, but if we want to see it go to the next level, whether it's by our personalities, whether it's by the things that we need new equipment, or we just need to learn how to do our business better, this is the place we want to be. So we want to join Tommy and Tab at this workshop where we can really learn the strength and strategy of our business. And until next time, remember, Tracey's keeping it real.